Hello and welcome to Witness Aid UK. Today I'm going to talk to you about the problem of shunning when you leave the Jehovah's Witness religion. If you've done some research and you've finally come to the conclusion that the Watchtower religion is not the truth as you were told it was, you may be ready to leave. But you face a dilemma. If you leave, you will be shunned by all the people who are your friends in the religion. You may be in the fortunate position of not having any relatives in the religion. So at least when you leave, you will not be shunned by your immediate family or by cousins, grandparents, grandchildren and other members of a family. But nevertheless, you're concerned at the prospect of losing all those friends, all those dear brothers and sisters that you have known for so many years. Well, I may have an answer that will help you. You may recall how, like many people, I returned to the Watchtower religion after I had been out of it for about 3 years, round about 1993. Unfortunately, I returned without my wife because we had separated by this stage after all the pressure that had been put upon us by the congregation, which prompted us to leave in the first place in 1990. I was very unhappy when I went back to the congregation, and I just couldn't fit in at all. And even the prospect of finding another marriage mate was not really an option to me. I just didn't believe I could find anyone compatible. And the one thing I didn't want to do was marry a young woman who was desperate to be married, even to an older man in his late 40s, as I was at that time. So I just realised that there were no prospects there for me. And I remember one day I went to a Sikher assembly and I was just looking around me at all the people and saying to myself, what do I actually have in common with them? Are these people actually my friends? Do they actually care about me? Do we have anything apart from religion to bond us together? Now, typically when I went to an assembly in the past, I used to go around talking to people and catching up and sharing news and information with people that I hadn't seen for a while. But on this occasion, I decided just to step back from that for a few moments, and I stood in a doorway, and it was quite a prominent place, and I just looked around, people watching you might say, and much to my shock, very few people actually spoke to me or came over to speak to me. Of course, as I stood there in the doorway, all the women avoided me like the plague. It was the kiss of death for a single woman to be seen talking to a single man. So none of the single women stopped to say hello, and married women would just about acknowledge me as they were passing by. And I really began to realise that the words of a Jehovah's Witness man that I knew were true. He said, all those people at the Kingdom Hall, they're not friends, they're just acquaintances, he said. And how true that was. So while I'm not suggesting that you dump all your friends, I would ask you to look around you and say, who really is my friend in the Kingdom Hall? How many of these people do I really have a communion with? What really is your interest with the people in the congregation? And if you can work that out, you might realise that you would not feel such a sense of loss as you may imagine if you left them all behind. If you need one thing to really convince you about how friendly those Jehovah's Witnesses in your congregation are, ask yourself this. If you picked up the phone right now and told them what you are watching on this video, how sympathetic and friendly would they be toward that? Do you think they would be able to keep a confidence with you? Do you think you could confide in anyone in your congregation regarding your doubts about the Watchtower organisation and its false teachings? That would certainly be one way of testing your friendship. But I think you know the truth of the matter. The fact is, the day after you leave the Watchtower, by handing in a letter of disassociation, all of your friends will shun you. And I think you really have to ask yourself, what is the strength of a friendship which can turn on the basis of rumour and false accusation against you? I myself would certainly not expect my friends to love and support me if I did some terrible crime, if I did some awful act against society. But I think I would at least expect them to be interested in why I had done it. But I think we know that in the congregation, Jehovah's Witnesses are quite happy to accept the word of the elders when they say that you are persona non grata because you left the congregation. No explanation is given regarding your reasons for leaving, and rumour is allowed to run rife, ruining your reputation. So, if you're just at the point where you're struggling about leaving because of the prospect of losing all your friends, you might just review what I've been saying. Write down a list. Write down a list of all your friends and what you get from that friendship and what you give to that friendship. You might be surprised to know that there are many people outside Jehovah's Witnesses who will be your friends also. When I left the congregation, I made an effort to contact some of my classmates from school. Over the years, I had missed many anniversaries, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year anniversaries, meeting up with my old classmates. And I felt very sad about that. So, I got out the phone book and I went through it and I managed to contact a few, and through them I managed to contact others, and I was able to meet some of them who were still living locally. and I had a good response from them. They were very kind and very understanding of the fact that I had cut myself off from them because of the religion. I also contacted one or two relatives whom I had shunned over the years. You see, shunning works both ways. Jehovah's Witnesses may shun those who leave, but we who were Jehovah's Witnesses also shunned others because we had minimal contact with our friends and our relatives. We didn't want to get involved in their worldly holidays, such as Christmas. We didn't want to know them on their birthdays or to acknowledge their birthdays. How unkind that was of us. So I took the opportunity also of apologising to them for my conduct and my part in that. Start making friends at work. Start talking to your neighbours and the people that you see regularly in the bus or train to work. There are many clubs and societies that you might join. Sports clubs, books, art, film appreciation societies. In all of these, you will find friendly people. You're probably familiar with the expression, "Greater love hath no man than to lay down his soul for his friends." But a British politician a few years ago made a slight twist on that, and he said, "Greater love hath no man than to lay down his friends for his life." Well, the fact is, you deserve to have a life of your own. Not a life which is ruled by the Watchtower and which is controlled by the governing body in Brooklyn through their rules and regulations. Examine your friends in the congregation, those people whom you've been told are your dear, loving brothers and sisters, and ask yourself, is part of your soul in their body? As Aristotle said, probably not. That's the sad truth. If you think you do have one or two special friends, then before you hand in your disassociation letter, go and see them and talk to them frankly and confidentially about your doubts and fears regarding the religion. Express your feelings to them and see what they say. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to tell you, they will probably report you to the elders as soon as you walk out of the door. But all you can really do is appeal to them and explain to them the reasons why you are leaving. It's nothing to do with any secret sins, as the Watchtower would have them believe. It's nothing to do with the fact that you don't love God anymore, because you probably still do. But it's to do with the fact that you have recognized that you're being deceived by a book publishing company posing as a religion. I sincerely hope that when you speak to your friends, you may be able to sow a seed and help them out too. Or you may even find that they've had doubts for many years, and it may start them on the process of leaving the Watchtower with you. But that's certainly a way in which you'll be able to test how true those friends really are to you, or whether it's just a superficial acquaintance that just happens to go along to the Kingdom Hall and they speak to you out of convenience, really, because you happen to be there. You'll find that you have very few long-lasting and stable friendships over the years. People are easily forgotten when you're surrounded by 100 new friends as soon as you move congregation. So these are all things to think about when you make your decision. And if, as I said, you're in the lucky position of not having family in the Watchtower, then this may make your decision to leave that bit easier. As for the people outside, they are very much the same as the people inside the congregation. They have their faults and failings too. But the difference is, they will not judge you as a friend on the basis of what you do for the congregation. They will value you, for your personality, for the way you treat them, for the way you speak to them, for the way you listen to them, and the way you regard them. And I would say that is a much better way of having a friend. Someone who values you as a person and for what you yourself are really worth. I hope you find your way, and thanks for listening.